I have with me Sanjay Motwani, Country Director, India and Southeast Asia, Raritan International India Private Limited. Thank you so much, Mr. Motwani, for your time.
Thank you.
Right, Mr. Motwani. So what is Raritan International's expectation from this union budget?
The expectation, specifically not from Raritan's perspective, I would look at it from the industry perspective of the IT side. The Make in India part, we're talking about building 100 smart cities, the concept of digital India. All this is very exciting. So keeping what was spoken about and talked about last year, I think the expectation rests pretty much based on these fundamental points of discussion. So we are looking forward to as to what comes out so that these points actually get implemented. I mean, so far one's heard a lot about this, but we need to see some solid points for action and rolling forward.
All right. Well, the IT sector is a much talked about sector in the Make in India campaign. Do you think this budget, the Make in India campaign, would get a policy direction?
It should, it has to. Otherwise, I think the fundamental stand on which this whole government is talking about and the Make in India campaign which is going around globally, it has to do it. Otherwise, it falls flat on its face. There are a lot of actions which need to be done under that umbrella theme. So going back to your previous question again, yes, the expectation is hugely rests on the Make in India part, and anything associated with that has to be done.
If you could tell us about Raritan's initiative on the data center.
Raritan is into, providing solutions and tools for optimizing efficiencies in data centers. And to that extent, we work very closely with IT managers, CIOs, ensuring that whatever the existing infrastructure exists, they're able to optimally utilize it. More often than not, what happens is that the CIOs and IT managers, data center managers, they look at expanding that existing infrastructure in order to meet the growing demands of the business. But where we come into play is we can say you can do far more with what you have rather than go and spend more money on new stuff. And linking it back to smart cities, again, where a lot of expenses going to be made, which is where we come into play in trying to help the government as well as the new data centers which are coming into play in building efficient and optimized data centers. As far as data center is concerned and environment is concerned, we talk a lot about green environment, green data centers, but the reality is there's been no focus on the government on this. So from the expectation side, one of the areas which I wish does get some attention is bringing the green data center, energy efficient data centers into play. We have started energy efficient consumer durable goods. You have star rating which has come into play, for example, in air conditioners, refrigerators, a lot of stuff. It would be nice to extend that concept even to data centers. How energy efficient are you as a data center? You can have energy efficiency metrics which should be shared, let's say like your P&L report. There should be a column which says that this is what my energy efficiency was during the course of the year. The idea is that as long as there is some kind of a focus, there is some kind of question which is being asked, and there's some kind of a reporting which is happening, people will become more sensitive to it. Okay? We talk about carbon footprint, sure, but it's been all talk. There are few organizations which push about or talk about on carbon footprint and green data centers. But unless and until it deserves or gets a mandated mention in a report on an annualized basis, you don't get that kind of focus. Okay, so if the government can bring up these kind of issues forward, then yes, it's definitely going to help the industry in a long, long way.
All right. Do you think the government would be able to achieve the fiscal deficit of 3%?
Honestly speaking, no. Okay, I'll be very candid with that. If you're trying to first build the Make in India campaign, wherein you're trying to build the infrastructure, which is a lot to build, okay, on every aspect, you've got to spend money. Okay, the income is not going to come in year one itself. Okay, so first you've got to spend money, build the infrastructure up, and the returns would follow in year 2, year 3. So honestly speaking, I don't see 3% happening straight up front on year 1. A couple of years, 3 years down the line, sure. It doesn't make number sense to me at this stage, at least. If
you could tell us some of the projects you currently have in India, and if any challenges you're facing.
The challenges in the data center space, you have various reports. I'm being very honest with you. Okay, the numbers are all extrapolated. There is no concrete. The expectation is that the data center market is going to grow anywhere between 5 to 7% this year, which means we are looking at about a $2 billion data center market in 2015.
So let's talk about that. That sounds very interesting. And you can also have a comparison between India and rest of the world, what's happening here and what can be expected in the next 5 years' time. Because all this would total up to homes for all, and right?
India data center market is likely to grow at about 5 to 5.5% this year, which means you're talking about $2 billion kind of data center market here. We are supposedly the IT hub of the world. Unfortunately, what's happening is that the infrastructure which we provide for the data centers or the IT as a whole is just about an average kind of a data center which is there. The quality of power which comes into data centers is ridiculous. Every data center operator, whether it's on the private side or on the public side, has to build enough redundancies to ensure that the business continuity happens within these data centers. Now you want to look at smaller countries, you want to look at Singapore, you want to look at Hong Kong, you want to look at the Philippines for that matter. The infrastructure which is provided is phenomenal. The power is so stable, you don't even have to put a stabilizer, forget about a UPS. So it's as simple as that. The cost of bandwidth which is available in India vis-a-vis the cost of bandwidth which is available outside is again a huge difference. Security measures which we look at within India compared to even the Southeast Asian regions there's a huge gap. While we may talk about our skill sets in terms of the knowledge base we have, unfortunately we don't have the infrastructure to back up these skill sets. It's the flip side on the Southeast Asian and other parts of the world. They're all English speaking, they have a damn good infrastructure, which is why if you want to look at big data centers, financial data centers, they are not housed in India. The big ones are housed away from India. So that's the reality. The good news is we have the skill sets, we have the people, but we need to ensure that we're able to provide the infrastructure. So coming back and looping back to the original question of the budget and Make in India, sure, if Make in India part, this is definitely an element which they should focus on and bring it up for this whole thing to, fructify.
All right. Do you think homes for all 8 years from now it's possible, and the internet for all, is it feasible?
On paper, yes. On paper, yes. I can take you back to 1990. We are talking about managed services, lease line services. That's the first time I ventured into that space. But that managed space actually picked up in 2008, 2009, 2010. If you go back to 1998, 99, you would get 1.5 years, 2 years to get a leased circuit. Today you get a leased circuit in about 2 months, subject to feasibility. So when you say in 8 years, would there be internet for all? No. There's a lot of infrastructure we need to go in to do that. In 8 years is a far short time to do that. I mean, if you look at the budgets which were allocated last year for this, 100 cities, it was about 7,000 crores. That still has to roll out. The plans have to happen. It'll take about 3 years before you see the reality of that. So we're talking about 100 cities. It'll 3 years for 100 cities, and that's still being optimistic here. But pan-India, no, 8 years is not happening.
Okay. Anything else you would like to add?
It's my personal view that, we spend a lot of time, effort, energy, and the government spends a lot of infrastructure in trying to collect and widen the income tax base of the personal income taxpayer. We are about only 5–6% people who pay income tax. Reality is about 35 to 40% easily qualify for that income tax. My thought process is we should not tax the income, but we should tax the expenditure. We should do away with the income tax at all. Let there be surplus income in each and every household, and that surplus income is either going to be used for expenses or for investment. So as it comes for expenses, tax the expenditure, and increase the tax rate at the expenditure point or the spending point, you will still get your money in place. So, yeah, it's a food for thought. It's about it.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you.